Great standing ovation. Thank you. You didn't have to, but you did. Thanks for everybody tuning in to the Prodigal Church on this joyous, wondrous Father's Day. We thank God for this day, just for Him being who He is. We didn't get well. No, we did have service on Mother's Day. I don't think we streamed that day. I dare not do that for Father's Day because I was about to be petty. Somebody said it's me, not on me. Just thank God for this day. This is Father's Day for same as Mother's Day for some people can really bring up some type of hurt and pain and show them what they don't have and what they miss and all those good things. But we really appreciate this day that people set aside to honor fathers, and to those who are taking care of their responsibilities, keep doing you, King. To those who need to step it up, King. To those who are not fathers yet, wait till you're married to be fathers. I can end the message right there if I need to. But we're grateful for you all tuning in to Prodigal Church, whether you tune in live or later. Go with me to the book of Genesis. We're going to be coming from a couple verses. We'll start at Genesis chapter 33, verses 1 and 2. And it says, "And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah, unto Rachel, and the two handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost." We'll go to the 37th chapter of Genesis, read 3rd and 4th verse. "Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father had loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably." He hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So Jacob had 12 sons. We know that's where we get the 12 tribes of Israel. You have Reuben, whose name means behold his son. Simeon, whose name means he listens or hear. You have Levi, which is united or joined, which makes sense when you think about what the Levitical tribe's responsibility was, or in harmony, because they were the tribe essentially to keep everybody together. They were the leaders of the tribe of the children of Israel, because they were the priests, so they had to keep everyone united in God. So, that made sense. You have Judah, which is, we all know, praise. Dan is, God is my judge. Naphtali, my struggle, my strife, or wrestling. We have Gad, which is fortune. Asher, which is happiness. Issachar, which means his reward will come. Zebulun, which is dwelling of honor. Joseph, he shall add. God shall add. Which also makes sense because that's when Joseph went to working, or when he eventually ended up in the palace and served as the Pharaoh's number 2 guy. That's when the children of Israel really multiplied. They went from that 12 and became a great nation during that time. Benjamin, lastly, the son of the right or the hand. So our text right now takes place in the Old Testament and ancestral history of the Old Testament. We see Abraham's grandson, Isaac's son, known as Israel, in reference to Abraham's great-grandchildren, right? These scriptures show us Jacob's relationship with his sons. As pivotal as Israel or Jacob is in the Christian and Jewish faith, today we look into a text and kind of pinpoint some inaccuracies, some ways where he could have done better or fallen, where he's kind of fallen short in the area of fatherhood to his children. text would be every kid needs their father. Every child needs their father. In multiple ways, in more ways than one, but every child needs their father. This message is not to bash him nor paint him in a light other than which we normally see him, but rather to learn from lessons. Some lessons that he that he shows us through his life, because like I said, every child needs it. Not just to be present, but to be impactful, to be able to pour into them. They need their father so they can be. Their father has to be on display for observation, because kids simply learn from there, and parents can't just be there, but they have to be active. So we look into our text and we see the impact that Israel had on the lives of his sons, right? We see the behaviors his children observe, and we see his presence in their lives, right? We see his relationship with his son Joseph juxtaposed to his relationship with the other 11, right? We can put them together and see that Joseph was his favorite. That's scripture, that's text, that's facts. Factual, they weren't his favorite. He cared about Joseph's mother the most. It says that because it's the work and the labor he put in for Joseph's mother. That was the one he wanted to be with. That's the one he fell in love with. So he loved her. He was tricked just like he tricked his brother. And now he ended up with Leah. So now he ended up with the children he had with Rachel and her handmaid, and Leah's and her handmaid, right? But you see his relationship and how he loved Joseph the most. And even later on, we won't get into that text, but we can see when Joseph is now in his position of power in Egypt, how close Jacob is to Benjamin, Joseph's younger brother, with Rachel, right? So those kids right there attached to Rachel are the ones he loves the most. We begin with Jacob gathering, right? The first in chapter 33, Jacob's gathering all his things. He wants to go back he's going back to his land, right? And he knows he's going to see Esau. He knows he's going to see his brother. And knowing he's going to see his brother, he's prepared for his brother. He's preparing for his brother to kill him. He's scared. He wrestles with the angel of God. He's fearful, and he puts everything in order. And it can be inferred that this is in order from what he cares about the most, which is close to him, to out front. He put his handmaids' children up front. So you have Rachel's and Leah's, their handmaids and their children up front. Behind them you had Leah and her kids, and then closest to him was Rachel and hers. So we can see what his kids observed and how they noticed that Joseph is their favorite. So he sent the head treasures and gifts to his brother Esau for fear of what Esau might do to him, and he put his family in order, and they're marching ahead of him, Joseph being the closest to him. So imagine knowing your father is fearful that he may die and that he's putting you all in order, and that in order for your father's brother, who's his possible potential enemy, to get to your father, he has to kill you to get there. That's an interesting outlook, because they had to know that the fear that they may succumb to the violence or the vengeance of their brother or of their father, and that although they may be benefactors of his protection, there's only one child mentioned that's in his direct protection. That's Joseph. The scriptures say, like I said, he put everybody else ahead of him. So the closest to him was Joseph. What might that do to the mind of a young kid? A few chapters down, we see Joseph is his favorite. We see how his brothers, this is scripture, it says his brothers grew to hate him. Not because of anything Joseph did. We know that Joseph was a dreamer, but it said they hated him prior to those dreams, right, that we learned about in the scripture. So they hated him because of their father. What did they observe? Different things they observed. So we see they grow to hate him, and it was not his fault, but it was their dad. It was the dad's fault. What would happen if Israel's boys observed him treat all of them with the same love? What would happen if he had the same impact on all their lives. But maybe if he was just as emotionally available for the others as he was for Joseph, maybe Joseph wouldn't have gotten sold. Now, God is intentional in everything he does, and he allows everything to happen for a reason. So, as Dad Tyler would say, pretty much, it had to happen. He knew before the foundation of the world. So, this order, this happened because he knew that God knows the decisions we're going to make. That's where predestination comes in. It's not that God has decided for us. It's just that God already knows the decisions that are going to be made, and our steps are already ordered. So we'll look at this. We look at some statistics that really kind of show the impact, because Israel's job was to have an impact just like Father's job, and he had an impact. But we're going to look at some stats on some positive impacts that fathers have on their children. We'll look at some stats on how children learn from observing from the fathers, and we'll look at some stats about what happens to kids when the father is at home, but he's not emotionally available for them. So the impact on their fathers, on children and their fathers, is a well-researched topic. Numerous studies highlighting the effects of engaged and involved father. So emotionally and behavioral, children with involved fathers are less likely to experience depression, anxiety, or have emotional issues. There's a study published in the Journal of Marriage and Family found that children who have a close relationship with the fathers exhibit fewer behavioral problems and higher levels of psychological well-being. There's a benefit of academic success. Research indicates that children with involved fathers are less likely to, or more likely to achieve levels of academic success. National Center for Education Stats reports that children with highly involved fathers are 43% more likely to earn A's and 33% less likely to repeat a grade. Social development. Children with active fathers tend to develop better social skills. Children who have strong parental involvement are more likely to develop healthy social habits and relationships, and are likely or less likely to engage in delinquent behavior. There's a cognitive benefit from it because study shows that fathers' involvement influences cognitive development. Children with engaged fathers better perform on cognitive tests and have high IQs as opposed to their peers who may not have fatherhood involvement in their life. Fathers who are actively involved in their children's lives have a positive impact on stability, economic stability. Children with involved fathers are more likely to have higher incomes as adults and less likely to experience poverty. I can attest to that. I appreciate it. I gotta tell my dad I appreciate that. Donnie, appreciate that. It's interesting. These are just by having involved fathers. These are the impacts that it have and the stats that it have for the fathers to be able to be in their lives. These are economic impact. Just being there, less likely to experience poverty. Now, based off of this, it shows us that when the father isn't there, the children is more likely to struggle in different ways. There's a long-term well-being. Longitudinal studies suggest that the presence of a supportive father figure contributes to better long-term outcomes, including lower incidences of substance abuse and criminal behavior. The Fatherhood Institute highlights that adults who had engaged fathers during childhood report higher life satisfaction and well-being just by being there and active. Higher life satisfaction. These stats underline the significant positive impact of fathers that can have on various aspects of their children's lives, emphasizing the importance of parental involvement in fostering healthy, successful, and well-rounded individuals. If a father is present and active, he can have this impact on his children, and his children are it'll help foster a successful, well-rounded individual. I tell my kids all the time, my job is to make you or is to help you to grow up to be a holy, a righteous man who can have an impact and give to society. It's not to just be saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. It is also to make you an upstanding member of society. You can't have one without the other. You can't be an upstanding member of society if you're only heavenly minded. And you really can't be and how can you be heavenly minded and not be an upstanding member of society? They go hand in hand. Observation. What if we see that we see that Jacob's kids observed things from his father, and based on what they observed, it never said he didn't love him. The scripture never said he did anything wrong to him. They just observed behaviors of their father that caused them to hate their brother. Children learn a significant amount from their fathers by observing them. This learning is often referred to as observational learning or modeling. It's a fundamental way through which children acquire behaviors, attitudes, and skills. Here are some key areas. Once again, behavioral and social skills. Fathers play a crucial role in modeling social behaviors and interactions. Children observe how their fathers interact with others. So that means we have to pay attention. We have to be careful what we do. The children pay attention to how fathers communicate, how they resolve conflict, and how they show empathy. Children are paying attention to these things. This modeling helps children to develop their own social skills and understand appropriate behaviors in social context. So, if a father is not there to observe certain behaviors, your child may not know how to, stay in the child's place. If a father is not there to correct his child when he's going beyond which he should, then how would that child know how to stay in the child's place? And I'm not saying that the mother can't teach these things. We're talking about the impact of a father right now. My 3-year-old, my youngest, he responds to me and his mother differently. She can yell at him and I can yell at him about the same thing, and he responds to us differently. This shows the impact of the father, because his mother is more of a nurturer. She nurtures him. I'm more of a guider. I guide him. So he responds to us differently, and it's just by being in space. It's also off the things that he observed from us. Maybe he observes that she really not gonna hit him. Maybe that's what he observed. Maybe he observes with me, he don't know when I'm gonna hit him. But he observes behavior, he watches us, but us observing, or him observing the behavior that I show, he can learn how to act and behave in certain social contexts. Work ethic and responsibilities. Fathers often model work habits and attitudes towards responsibilities. By observing the father's dedication to work, household chores, and commitments, children learn the value of hard work. Now, my children may have learned how to do their household chores from me. I take that. I got the other stuff. I'm going to go to work. Household chores. I mean, I'm okay. I'm just not like that mama, But they learn by other commitments. Children learn the value of hard work, responsibility, and perseverance. Study has shown that children often emulate their parents' work ethic and attitudes towards responsibilities. Now, my dad didn't work. My dad couldn't work. But my dad found other ways to work. My dad was just never at home doing things. He worked up until a point where he had a bad accident, and his body just took a toll on his body over time. He couldn't stand up for a long period of time. His last job was my favorite summer that I remember. His last job was 1996. He worked as security during the Summer Olympics. Favorite summer for us, I got to see my then childhood crush Dominique Dawes take home the gold with all the other girls. The girl who broke her ankle. We played baseball in the living room. Broke all my parents' pictures that was on the mantle. And it wasn't them pictures of us. It didn't really matter that we broke them pictures, because they weren't pictures of us. They was my pictures of my uncle and his kids, which is crazy. I don't even know they was visiting my uncle. that was crazy, but we don't get too far off. That's hilarious. I'm thinking about it. And maybe that's why we ain't getting in that much trouble, right? But that was the last job I remember my father having. So, but although he wasn't able to work in a traditional sense, I saw his work ethic. I saw the work he put into church. He found other ways to do things. I saw the work he put into helping other people. You know, he displayed these roles. I was able to observe, right, these roles that he was placing. And he wasn't able to work, but the things that he did do showed me a work ethic. And for what he couldn't do, he was going to make sure that me and my twin brother, we worked how he wanted to work. I really think that's what he did. Because, man, you talking about a slave master. But fathers significantly influence for gender roles and identity. Fathers significantly influence their children's understanding of gender roles and identity. Children learn about masculinity, femininity, and other gender-specific behaviors by observing their fathers. This can shape their own gender identity and perceptions of gender roles in society. Emotional regulation and coping mechanisms. This is important, especially for little boys. For girls, it shows how men should regulate and be composed and cope with things. But for boys, it shows how them themselves should behave. Fathers model how to handle emotions and stress. Children learn, so it's safe to say that if it's emotional child, then both their parents might be emotional. Or at least one of them might be emotional. Just one. I may be sensitive sometimes. I'm not emotional. But children learn emotional regulation and coping strategies by watching how their fathers manage their own emotions. Whether it's dealing with frustration, anger, or sadness, this observational learning helps children develop their own emotional resilience and coping skills. If it's not there on display, if they can't observe it, how are they going to learn it? Once again, we just talking about fathers. I'm not saying mothers aren't doing this, but it's different when you have mothers and fathers displaying two different ways to cope with one thing, and they're successful and they're mature and they're coping with it. Then you create a whole child. Fathers are often role models for moral and ethical behavior. By observing their father's actions and decisions, children learn about honesty, they learn about integrity, they learn about fairness, and they learn about ethical principles. Research indicates that children who observe ethical behavior in their parents are more likely to adopt similar values. So when we get caught up in, well, you only go to church because your parents went to church, it was what they observed that worked for them. Interpersonal relationships. Children learn about relationships by observing how their fathers interact with their mothers, with their siblings. That's why they tell young girls, when you're looking for a husband, you need to see how he treats his mothers, because you can see about those personal interactions that are made. You can see how he's going to treat you by how he treats the other women in his life. This includes lesson on partnership, respect, cooperation, affection. Positive modeling of relationships can lead to healthier interpersonal skills in children. You know, I blame my parents for why I'm not affectionate now. I blame them. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Y'all did good. Y'all did good. But we talking about how Jacob could have did. I'm just saying, we all got a little Jacob. We all could be a little bit better in parenthood. We staple our parents on blast. I don't completely blame them, but I told my mama, I said, you didn't tell me you love me that much. And she was like, it's this one, and she like, no, but we had to. I went up to my mama when I was second, third grade, somewhere. We was in mobile home. I was like, not who's there. I love juice. I went to her with that, but that's the only thing she remembered. And but we had that. No, I did that. All right. So, but But like I said, I blame them, And with my parents, there was no doubt that I never thought my father didn't love me. My father was hard on us. I know I called him a slave master, but it's because of how he made us do yard work. I love landscaping and yard work. Just yesterday, I probably went down a rabbit hole on how to create a garden bed outside. I just bought some bushes that I can plant, right? But it's because it was what I observed his passion into it. He couldn't do it, but I observed the passion he put behind it. I observed his behavior. I observed what he wanted and how everything wasn't perfect, but what he couldn't do, he was going to make sure that me and my twin brother did. So I observed those things, right? And those are the things that drove me and helped me make me who I am today. That takes us to physical activities and hobbies. At the time, yard work was not a hobby. Now, all my Mondays, every Monday, I got to go, especially now that I have more time, I got to go outside and do something to the yard. Monday is the one day I know I'm going to do something to the yard. Something has to be different. Something, there has to be something that changes. And dramatically, and slowly but surely, there's changes that we have. But, fathers also influence their children's interests in activities. My two youngest keep picking up my golf clubs because I'm golfing them. But by participating in physical activities, sports, and hobbies with their fathers, children are more likely to develop similar interests and recognize the importance of a healthy lifestyle. We need balance. We cannot just show them church, just like we just can't show them, you can't just focus on education, just like you can't just focus on finances. You have to show them other things outside of that. How can you find balance? What hobbies can you pick up? What are the different things? I talked to all my second oldest, he draws. That's one thing he and I has in common. He draws way better than I did. He surpassed me completely, and his skills are awesome. So we have that in common. But you have to show your kids there are different things that they can do to create a whole and healthy person. They need a healthy lifestyle. Be active. The impact of observational learning from fathers is well documented in developmental psychology. Studies suggest that children are keen observers and tend to mimic the behaviors and attitudes of their parents. My 3-year-old, if I pick up a drill, if I pick up a hammer, if I pick up any type of tool, he's picking it up. We got like a 20-foot ladder downstairs. If I set that up outside, he's climbing it. He was 1 and he climbed our 6-foot ladder. He's going up. He's just picked up those skills. I'm pretty sure he's gonna do something with his hands because he has no problem picking. He want to help. He want to paint. When it comes down to a tool specifically, if it's a car, he want to be out there with the car. I got to get him a tool so he can bang on something with the car. He wanted to help me change the tire last time. It's just in him. But he's learned these things through observation. Fathers are a role model even in observation. Fathers have to be emotionally available. It's hard for me, in my career, I don't talk about it in this setting much. In my career, there's a balance to be had, and you have to fight more to remain emotionally intact because of some of the stuff you see, some of the stuff you deal with on a daily basis, and that's the struggle. I think no different than it's being difficult to be a preacher's kid. It's difficult to be a law enforcement officer's kid because of the switch that has to be made and how difficult it is, and then how tiresome and cumbersome it is to deal with people's problems all day. You still have to come in and manage the house. So it's very important that I have to attempt to be emotionally available. So what I recently, but a few months ago I started doing is, so I could be more present, is I make sure that when I come in the house, everybody gets addressed. Sometimes I don't hit it every day, but it's important that they know, hey, I'm here. Hey, what's up? It don't have to be a long conversation. How was school? You good? Everybody went and everybody get their own greeting. Everybody get their own greeting. Now, the one who smiles the most is my 3-year-old. My wife smiles a little bit less than him, but I'm his best friend. So he's going to smile a lot when he sees me. So, but I have to fight to be more emotionally available. Fathers who are physically present at home but not emotionally or relationally engaged often experience various negative outcomes. These children compared to those with engaged fathers. There are so many people. We know that Joseph was engaged when Jacob was engaged with Joseph. We don't know how engaged he was with his other children. Not to say he wasn't, but there had to be some difference, because if there wasn't, based off the behavior they observe, based off of the impact, and the impact that he has on them is going to be based off of what he puts in them. It's going to be based off of how emotionally available he is for them. Children with emotionally unavailable fathers, and we're still talking about fathers in the house, tend to exhibit higher levels of emotional and behavioral problems. Studies show that such children are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. When children have disengaged fathers, they have higher levels of stress, psychological distress. Now what you're doing is taking that guider. I think the other day I was doing a podcast and I was saying how fathers are poorer, and they're poor, and they have to continuously pour. So they always have to be tapped into the source, because they have to be ready to pour into their children at all times. And if you're not pouring, if you're not watering the plant's going to die. And I think this is the benefit, and this is the outcome. A lack of positive relationship with the father can negatively impact children's academic performance. This is not to say just because you're there, your kid go have all A's. Because if you got a dumb kid, then get them some tutoring. Get them some help, God. So research indicates that children with uninvolved fathers are more likely to have lower grades and higher risk of dropping out of school. Now, me and my brother, we didn't drop out of school on purpose. Not on purpose. That's something for another day. The National Center for Education stats found that students with disengaged fathers are less likely to earn high grades, more likely to repeat a grade. Social development can be adversely affected in children with disengaged fathers. They struggle with forming and maintaining healthy relationships. Children with less engaged fathers are more likely to exhibit social withdrawal and have difficulties with peer interactions. The absence of an engaged father increases the likelihood of behavioral problems. Children with disengaged fathers are more likely or prone to exhibit aggressive behavior and higher risk of engaging in delinquent activities during adolescence. I remember when I was working in the school system. I worked in Buckhead, so we know the community that I was working with. And the black kids who would come up to me, first of all, the black kids were happy to see somebody who looked like them, for the most part, who dressed like them, coming there with some Jordans or some Nikes. They wanted they wanted to see something familiar, right? And they were happy to have because when we corrected them, when me and some of the other men corrected them, we weren't correcting them as a student correcting a teacher. It was as a father correcting a child. And they liked it. They would fall into your arms, they would come hug you, and you would think they would run away from the correction. No. It was that man being engaged in their life caused them to act different, caused their behaviors to change. That's why we need more black men, specifically in school systems, especially in special needs. That's a whole other different thing. When you start talking about kids with ADHD and things like that, they need. There's others. These other two kids, Jeremy, I can't really think his little brother name right now. One of my autistic students who just graduated. I just talked to them for like 15 minutes yesterday, and he called me on the phone. Just tell him Jeremy graduated high school. Said he's autistic. He's going to college next year. So we're talking about going to college. His little brother, they came as a package. Jeremy was my student. And I remember when his little brother went to pre-K. Now his little brother's in 7th grade. Jeremy's graduated, but they came as a package because I'm on speakerphone. Now I had to talk to both of them, but it's the relationship and them having a fatherly figure. I don't get to talk to them all the time, But when I do talk to him, Jeremy can talk to me about what he's proud of. I'm a grown man now. I'm doing these things. When there's men who engage, they don't have to be your father. If there are men in your life who are engaged, it can change the outlook or change the outcome of that child. Substance abuse.